I'm your host, Mallory McCoy, and welcome to this week's live streamed episode of A Monday Moment with Mal. As always, may this broadcast bring you what you need in the present moment. My love is extended to all who could use a little extra, and may my light exude positivity and kindness. Ashe. Let's seize this moment. Hello, everyone, again, and oh my gosh, I am just so filled with gratitude as I am every week, but specifically, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak at and have participated in the event Unleashing You Live in Denver, Colorado last Monday. Watching my friend making her dreams come true motivated me to make my dreams come true. It was a beautiful time and I made dream connections. I can't wait to be in the presence of powerhouse women again. And I know that I will be soon here in Kansas City on March 9th, and I can't wait to tell you about it. I'm also grateful that I was able to spend some time with kindergartners today and last week. Their teachers on maternity leave, and so I took the challenge to hang out with them for 10 weeks, and they are cracking me up. They are absolutely hilarious. I also realized that I can't do live shows until I'm done with them because they take a ton of energy to manage. And lastly, I'm grateful for the sun. Man, did y'all get outside and enjoy this weather that we've been having these past couple of days here in Kansas City? It's been absolutely glorious. My son has spent 100% of his time outside, and I even got a chance to get outside and just sit and catch the sun, and it was just so beautiful. Because I need some consistent, like warm climates, because this cold and this up and down stuff is giving me the blues. So I was thankful to have taken a chance to get outside. Excuse me. So, since it's March and spring is literally 3 weeks away, I felt compelled to talk about plants today. And I'm actually excited because I've been wanting to talk about plants forever. But there's been like 5 million other things that I wanted to talk about, and there's 5 million more things that I want to talk about. So, I'm thankful that I get a chance to talk about plants today. Um, so now I love me a good definition, and I'm team facts over feelings. So let's get into it. I grabbed these facts that I'm about to tell you about plants from a blog called Click and Grow, and they have a blog called 10 Mind Blowing Facts About Plants, and so check these out. Number one. Plants talk to each other by secreting chemicals into the soil through the roots. Who knew? Number two, plants recognize their siblings, and their root systems are more accommodating to their plant siblings than plant strangers. So basically, they will give to their family, but strangers, they don't get none. Number three, plants react to environmental sounds, and research suggests that sounds can increase the yield of plants. And in fact, I started talking slash singing to my plants when I water them, and I'm going to set a schedule to where music starts popping on. Um, and because I have plants in my kitchen and I have Alexa in my kitchen. So um, I thought she was gonna chime in because I have one in this room too. But yeah, I'm gonna start doing that so that they can be in better health. I'm excited about that. Number four, plants sense gravity and will grow towards gravity even if they're tilted towards it. So if they're standing up and tilted over, then they will find the gravity and grow in that direction. And I know because I have to keep turning, well, they'll also find the sun too. And I have to keep turning my plants because they grow toward the window, and then I turn them away so that they can keep growing. But then they just change direction toward the sun. It's beautiful to witness. Number five, plants use tricks to lure pollinators like other animals are deceptive to get what they want. And so, I mean, I've witnessed this too. Different plants give off their different things and lure the insects in different ways so that they can be pollinated, which I think is beautiful. Number six, plants use distress signals when under stress. In fact, the smell of freshly cut grass is actually a plant distress call. That was something that I learned that I didn't know. Um, wow, incredible. Number seven, plants know what time it is and are synced to a circadian rhythm like we are. So next time you're out, watch the plants and the leaves go to sleep and wake up depending on what time it is. I've actually witnessed this. The weeping willow closes its leaves at night and then opens its leaves during the day. It's actually beautiful to witness. Number eight, plants know their season by sensing day length and temperature changes. They have their own internal clock, which makes sense because they are synced in circadian rhythm. Number nine, a fact I did not know, strawberries are the only fruit that bears its seeds on the outside and is actually a member of the rose family. So it's not even a berry at all. How interesting. Um, and number 10, trees are the longest living organisms on Earth. They get healthier and more productive as they age. They store energy internally in their roots and trunks so they can recover quickly after trauma. And they also defend themselves against disease with chemicals they produce, deterring parasites and pests. And I've actually witnessed this and took pictures of this phenomena, and you'll have to check that out on my blog because I my phone is filled with a lot of photos, but a lot of photos of nature too. So nature is incredibly powerful. And the more the more time I spend outside, the more I realize actually my body has a thirst to be outside. I don't even want to be in the house. That's why I'm like, can I get to a warm climate? Because this climate gets on my everlasting nerves, especially the highs and lows, and my son too, because he loves to be outside. So, okay, to the topic of the week: 5 life lessons my plants taught me. Wow. Those of you that know me and that knew me more than 2 years, 2 or more years ago, know that I did not purchase any type of plants, nor did I encourage anybody to purchase me any type of plants because they were going to die in my care. Um, I considered myself to have a literal and figurative black thumb because I would even kill the plants that people said was hard to kill, like succulents and cacti and stuff like that. So, however, the past couple of years, I've actually taken a liking to plants, and now I have many house plants, and I'm obsessed. Most of my house plants have names, and I speak to them as I nurture them. And for me, a trip to the nursery is like crossing into the most beautiful dimension that has ever existed. Like when I'm by myself in the summertime, I literally just drive to the nursery and sometimes I buy lots of things and sometimes I don't buy anything at all, but I just love being immersed in all the beautiful plants. I myself have attempted a few gardens and grew vegetables and fruits. I was and am so proud of myself for even venturing into that space. I've jumped out of listen, my experience with nature hasn't always been the best. So those of you who knew me 2 or more years ago know that my extreme fear of bugs, like even so much like where I would just jump out of cars because I was so fearful of the bugs. I've even left my car in traffic before. There's a fun story about that. If you know me and want to hear more about the story, I'd be more than happy to share it with you because um, it's not funny. It wasn't funny to me. It was funny to everybody else that was involved in that. But um, yeah, fears are real. So I just the mere fact that like I've moved beyond that, and I think it came like my fear of bugs and flying objects specifically. Um, it kind of changed around one day when my son he was walking to the front door and there was a wasp like that was right by the front door, and I ran away from the wasp, but I didn't get him. Like I'm supposed to be protecting him, and I'm running away from the wasp. So that moment made me change how I approach bugs specifically. So anyway, now I work alongside them when I'm gardening and I'm outside. So what a change of trajectory. This is tremendous growth on my end, but I digress. Nonetheless, I'm getting cozy being a plant mom, and the more time I spend connecting with the earth and spend time outside on the trails and observe the plants while taking care of them, I started to recognize their existence has significant parallels to life as a human. So I concocted 5 life lessons I learned from plants. Number one, different plants require different ways of care and nurturance. After killing multiple plants, I learned that if one plant needs frequent watering, there are others that don't need much water at all. In fact, what you think is helping the plants is actually killing them. So, for example, I used a basic garden soil to plant watermelon, but they weren't growing as fast as I liked them to or needed them to because I was ready to eat some watermelon. When I spoke to my friend and she told me that her grandpa used sulfur in his soil to grow big juicy watermelons, I reacted and went and got some sulfur, added it to the soil, and my my watermelon grew. Unfortunately, my watermelon also froze because I started them later in the summer. I think I'm going to start them earlier, like within the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we won't have a freeze so that they can continue to grow. But um, here's what I learned and how this parallels to real life. I learned that this directly relates to all living things because all living things require different methods of care and different conditions to feel nurtured and loved. This has a large implication in relationships of all sorts because depending on how one is nurtured and cared for, which may or may not be beneficial to them, they get into relationships where we have to give care and nurturance to others, and if we are deficient of the care and nurturance our souls require individually, then we can seek it in relationships that we are in or fail to be able to give others the care and nurturance they require, putting an unfair burden on the person we're in a relationship with, and vice versa. That's why it's important to be intentional about learning what care and nurturance you need. That way, you can properly communicate what you need to others you're relating to. Furthermore, it's important for us to be mindful of how others receive care and nurturance because you might be really great at giving words of affirmation, but the other person requires quality time. They just want to spend time with you. So, um, and they don't hold your form of care and nurturance as valuable as what they actually need. So it's important for you to ask and be mindful of and learn because we can all learn. Number two, there's beauty in chaos. And like I said, I took pictures, so you'll have to check out my blog to see the pictures of this. But when I started running the trails, I honestly never looked into the woods because I was just focused on getting moving forward. Um, and I focused on the people around me because when I run by myself, sometimes people will just come out of the woods. Now I'm like, hey, that day with like 3 men came out the woods and I had my AirPods in, wasn't paying attention. The next day I got a bottle of mace or yeah, some mace and a stunt or like a little taser. Because I was like, I can't have anybody running up on me. But anyway, When I started to actually tune into the nature and not focus on the pavement or the people, I noticed the seemingly chaotic details of the greenery surrounding me. Fallen trees and limbs, cut branches, uneven grass spaces, growth on the trees, open green fields with occasional brown patches, beautiful coves created by dropping branches, but a lot of imperfections. But then I started to look closer and I realized that there are so many beautiful events taking place. Trees and plants growing in place of ones that have fell, vines creating pathways, making it easier for squirrels and other organisms to move from one tree to the next. Um, Looking closer, you can observe whole macro and micro ecosystems of insects, animals, and other organisms using all parts of the chaos to live in their everyday, and eventually new life growing from the destruction. That certainly has stark parallels to real life because, as people, when we're in the midst of chaos, it's incredibly difficult to find any beauty in the trials and tribulations we experience because those are painful and they are uncomfortable. But it is in these spaces of discomfort and pain that we learn our greatest life lessons. And while we're in the midst of the chaotic situation, we have the ability to focus some of that energy on the things we can be grateful for, which in turn will hopefully help us to begin to seek the beauty in all the chaos that we experience, ultimately being grateful for it all. And I certainly can be a testament to that. I don't like to do painful things, and I don't like to be uncomfortable. So I'm listen, I'm preaching to the choir on that one. Number three, energy never dies but always transfers. So protect and heal your own energy. Um, One day, I went to the park with my sorority sister to perform an oracle card session with her. I do oracle cards, and I started reading tarot cards, and I'm getting pretty good. So if you want a reading, contact me. Anyway, she needed to gain insight from the guides, and wanted I wanted to spend time with her and get out the house. So it was a beautiful collision of amazingness, and it was a beautiful day. So we just agreed to meet at a local park. And let me tell you, this park has majestic trees. They're so tall and so beautiful. We chose a tree we were drawn to and proceeded to sit down under it. As we looked at the tree, we noticed these spikes that were growing from the bark. I can say that I was that many years old before I ever saw a tree like that. It did have some black seed pods, and they were surrounding us on the ground. And so I just did a quick Google Lens search, and I was informed that this tree was a honey locust tree, and the spikes may have been adaptation to keep ancient mastodons from feeding off his bark. Excuse me. The pods do have a sweet, gooey substance that squirrels and deer love and eat. The wood of the tree is sturdy and resistant to rot, but the spikes are all over the tree, like trunks and branches. And I went into a Reddit dive about honey locust trees, and some of the anecdotes that people were saying that were typing about them being hurt by these spikes is crazy to read, including one person when they were younger, they got a spike through their elbow and it got lodged in their elbow joint and broke into 20 pieces, and they had to get like a 3-hour surgery to get it removed. So when I tell you these spikes are crazy, they're crazy. Look at the picture that's on my blog. So what am I saying about this tree? It does amazing job of protecting itself. And even though mastodons no longer exist in our current paradigm, the tree never felt the need to drop its protection. The energy of the need to protect itself is residual in its existence. There are several micro lessons in this one, but the one that rings loudest to me is that trauma is energy that's attached to the DNA of a living being and can transfer through generations of life. So, in order to change the course of the defense mechanisms attached to our DNA, we have to do the work to heal our souls. Even then, the defense mechanism put in place for protection may need to exist because of collective healing that is not happening. The defense mechanisms are the collective trauma we've experienced that comes to mind when I think of the societal um, ramifications of this is racism. Whether or not we want to admit it, the traumas of our ancestors are on all sides of the situation are written on our subconscious mind. And my grandparents that lived through Jim Crow, and my parents that were the first of many to integrate their schools, they're still alive. They're still here. And on the other side of the coin, there are people still alive who witnessed live lynchings as children, who had no choice because it was normalized or learned um, a learned behavior. They were taught to dehumanize others based on their skin color. And whether you want to admit it or not, that is traumatic too. So, understanding that energy is transferred but never dies, we must protect our energies, but also be intentional about healing the energy. Love is the highest frequency and it is the greatest healer. But you are only in control of your actions. So, by showing love to yourself and for yourself, by protecting and healing your energy, you create a larger vibration of love. Number 4. I think I'm on number 4. As long as you live, or as long as you have life, you live. When Mallory lives. I love this one. So, as mentioned earlier, I have killed a lot of plants over the years. And as an official plant mom, I've killed more than I'd like to say. But I also saved a lot of plants that were on the verge of death. I changed their soil composition, propagated cuttings from the original plant, stopped watering the soil so much, or soaked the soil, depending on what the plant needed at the time, provided more sunlight by moving their position in the house, put them outside, or sang and talked to them. Like I told you, I'm singing to my babies, or providing music for them. I have done it all and they revive themselves and come back vibrant and happy. I also was running through my neighborhood and saw a plot of land that someone tried to clear, but they left the stumps. And then I recently ran back through there after the winter had gone, and the stumps are now baby trees. So I don't know what they hope to accomplish by cutting down the trees, but just because they cut down the trees doesn't mean that the life was stripped from the tree because it was still living. The roots are very much deep in the ground. So sometimes life has a way of cutting us down or killing our spirits because it's hard. But no, as long as you have life, you live. Don't give up just yet. Hold on a little while longer. You may need to change something up, or you just may need time to heal yourself. Whatever the case may be, give yourself grace through it all. And lastly, we are all one. When I'm on my runs, sometimes I listen to music, but the majority of the time I listen to podcasts. And the podcast I listen to the most is Eckhart Tolle's Essential Teachings. He's a spiritual teacher and a self-help author. And he has the driest voice. It's really hard to pay attention to, but if you can get past that, his words provide so many jewels for the soul. In his book, and I have it. Hold on. My library is right here. In his book, A New Earth Awakening to Your Life's Purpose, he talks about the human ego's need to label things in order to create structure. So he says, words, no matter where they are vocalized and made into sounds or remain unspoken as thoughts, can cast an almost hypnotic spell upon you. You easily lose yourself in them, become hypnotized into implicitly believing that when you have attached a word to something, you know what it is. The fact is, you don't know what it is. You have only covered up the mystery with a label. Everything, a bird, a tree, even a simple stone, and certainly a human being, is ultimately unknowable. This is because it has unfathomable depth. We can perceive, experience, think about is the surface layer of reality, less than the tip of an iceberg. Underneath the surface appearance, everything is not only connected with everything else, but also with the source of all life out of which it came. Even a stone, and more easily a flower or a bird, could show you the way back to God, to the source, to yourself. When you look at it or hold it and let it be without imposing a word or mental label on it, a sense of awe, of wonder arises within you. Its essence silently communicates itself to you and reflects your own essence back to you. And that was on page 20. And this is certainly something I've witnessed in real life. So, as humans, we used to be deeply connected to the earth because we lived closer to the earth. We looked into nature for healing, sustainability, and survival needs. Now, with all this modern technology and the hustle and bustle of life, we are so removed from nature. We mistreat and abuse her and don't recognize how plants and nature are us and we are them. So, bringing awareness back to the parallels of nature and human life will bring a greater respect for nature and each other. It will bring about a collective peace we have yet to experience in our current society. We are so riddled with anger, and our bodies are overly acidic because of the processed low quality and fast foods. The song says, "Let's get back to Eden, live on top of the world." Eden literally means a place of pleasure. And it's no surprise that in the creation story, the most pleasurable place to be on earth is in a garden. So, instead of having an audience engagement section, I decided to change it up a bit and challenge you by calling you to action on whatever topic I choose. So, in light of today's topic, my call to action for you this week is to reconnect with nature. Get outside and take a walk. Mindfully breathe in some fresh air. Eat lunch outside without your phone. And if you must take your phone, set an alarm for when you need to go back inside and put it down and just observe your surroundings. Take a moment to let all of your senses drink up what is around you. Take off your shoes and put your feet in the grass. Just do something to connect to the earth. And even though the audience engagement section is not included in this segment, always feel free to DM me or leave a comment at any time, and I'll be sure to message you back when I can. And if this message resonated with you in any way, like, comment, share, and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. And on that note, I'd like to leave you with a few quotes and a few affirmations. First, quote, "Come forth into the light of things. Let nature be your teacher." William Wordsworth. Second quote, "We often forget that we are nature. Nature is not something separate from us. So when we say that we have lost connection to nature, we have lost connections to ourselves." Andy Goldsworth. And I do see the typo. I was typing fast. And this one was beautiful. "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children." It has to still exist for our babies. And the affirmations for today. Let's see. Let me make that bigger. "I am part of the natural world, and I am grateful to live, breathe, walk, and play on this beautiful planet that I get to call home. I am conscious of my life choices and how they affect our planet. I am making conscious choices that lovingly support the environment and ones that are part of the solution. Even though I am not perfect, I am definitely making better choices daily. I am staying educated, hopeful, and most of all, I am a loving resource and a positive influence on those around me. And lastly, I am inspired, motivated, optimistic, and I am committed to being the change that will help to preserve and restore our magnificent planet." That's beautiful. And to wrap up, thank you for joining me this week. That's all for me this week. Be sure to tune in to next week's episode, which is in about springtime and how to spring clean your life. Until then, love and peace. Have the best week, and I'll see you here next week.